Now, my sermon this morning is about the servant's heart. I want to talk to you about Jesus. I want us to try to understand the heart of Jesus. Now, I put up one slide before my sermon gets going. It's the manger scene. And Luke chapter 2 has the story of the birth of Jesus. This month we will celebrate Christmas. And I encourage all of you as individuals and as families to read the Christmas story together in Luke chapter 2. I'm asking for this so that we can all be meditating and contemplating the same passage of Scripture as we approach Christmas. Now, my text for this message starts in Mark chapter 10 and begins with verse 42. I will read for us. But Jesus called them to himself and said to them, "You know that those who are considered rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you." Now I'm talking about the heart of Jesus. Jesus said to his disciples, "It shall not be so among you. Whoever of you desires to be first shall be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served," there again is the heart of Jesus, "did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many." I want to try to picture for you heaven, if I could. You know, we believe in heaven. We're going there. I'm going there. We are going there. It's a real place. How do we know? Because somebody came from there and told us about it. You can trust the testimony of Jesus. Amen. Heaven's a wonderful place. All of us try to conjure pictures of what heaven is like. I want you to picture Son of God, sent by the Father to come to this old, dark, sinful, dirty, evil planet called Earth. What did Jesus leave? He left the splendors of heaven. The light of heaven doesn't need a sun or moons. God is the light of heaven. Jesus left that to come to this dark place. We say dark because of the evil on this planet. He left the riches of heaven. Heaven is a rich place. We cannot imagine how rich it is. I want to try to tickle your imagination for a moment. When Father was building heaven, for years, I've kind of pictured this in my mind. I want to try to give it to you. You know these big concrete trucks that go through the city, block traffic, and they carry cubic meters of cement that will harden into concrete. And if you see those big round things on the back of those trucks, if it's moving slowly, that means they've got a load of cement, which they're trying to deliver to the construction site. Well, I imagine Father God ordering the trucks to come, and they back up to the place where they're going to pour their contents out. And when it comes out of God's trucks, it's 100% 24-karat gold. I'm going to be walking on the streets of gold when we get to heaven. You know that? The scripture describes heaven as streets of gold. Amen. We can't imagine the riches. We try to think of wealth here. You know, heaven's a rich place. When God built the foundations, He used some huge, precious stones. The gates are made of wonderful, beautiful, pure pearls. We think, you know, get a stone, a diamond, or a ruby, or something, and we put it in a ring or a little pendant or something, and you know, we spend a lot of money for those things. And some people measure their wealth and how much jewelry they've got. But those things are nothing compared to heaven. Jesus left the riches of heaven to come to this poverty-stricken, spiritually impoverished planet. He left the worship of angels. Angels adore Jesus. They sing to Him. They worship Him. And He left all of that to come down to a place we call earth. The angels in heaven, of course there's angels here, but He came to a place where demons are. Heaven, angels, earth, evil, messengers from Satan. He let the singing come to where there's crying and weeping. He left the glory. We call Him King. We call Him Lord, Master, and He is to us. In heaven, He was adored as Son of God. He was born here in this world, a world ruled by aliens. The world He was born into, Israel at that time, was under the domination of Rome. Laws enforced by Roman soldiers who were cruel, heartless soldiers. And Jesus was not born in a palace, you've heard this. He was not born in a rich mansion somewhere. He was born in a barn. Sister Linda and I raised animals. We had a barn when we owned a farm. We kept animals in that barn. It smelled bad. It always smelled bad, no matter how we shoveled. It smelled bad. I raised sheep. We raised sheep. And pet the sheep. They love to be petted. They loved affection. You touch sheep with this long, woolly hair. And sheep have a natural oil in their hair. It's called lanolin. You can buy it in the store. But you touch a sheep and smell your hand afterwards, there's a coat of oil on your hand, and it doesn't smell like fresh lanolin. It smells kind of rancid. Okay, some of you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Jesus was born in I suppose we'd call it a sheep barn. Probably it was a cave where they kept sheep. And I can promise you it smelled bad. Some of you who've grown up in a city, never been out on a farm, you've missed something. You know, when we talk about the food chain, where our meat comes from, you don't want to think about the source. Just nice packaged in the freezer department at the store. But how it got there had to pass through someone, some farmer somewhere, raised those animals. Okay, Jesus was born in a barn. So can you imagine the humble beginning of Jesus? A little baby in a sheep barn. And Jesus talks about how we would conduct ourselves. And he said, you shall not be like the world. In other words, you should be humble servant like Jesus. Okay, I've got something I want to share with you. Many years ago, when we were still meeting in the old building across the road, and some of you remember it, some of you don't, you're new, but it's okay. On the second floor, we had a library, and one Friday night, we were building foundations for the beginnings of a discipleship training course, which would later be called Servant Leader Institute. We haven't started that yet, but we were meeting on a Friday night. We just gathered to worship and have study of the Word together. And one Friday night, I took a pan of water into the meeting and a towel, and I walked up to one of the young men, fine young man, loved Jesus, and I said to him, take off your shoes and socks. I'm going to wash your feet. Now, I have to tell you, that's hard for me to even think about doing something like that. As far as I know, in that church, that had never been done before. I could be wrong, but I don't think in my research I've ever heard of it being done before. And I'm not going to tell you this young man's name. Some of you know him, and I don't want to embarrass him, and he's not here this morning to defend himself. But I wish I had a photograph of the expression on his face when I told him, I want you to take off your shoes and socks. Now, some of you were there. I know I asked yesterday, Sister Shirley remembers that night. Sister Linda remembers that night. I washed this guy's feet, and I think I knew what Peter was thinking. When Jesus was going around the table washing the disciples' feet, he came to Peter, and Peter pulled his feet back, and he said, you're not washing my feet. And Jesus said, if I don't wash your feet, you don't have any part with me. And so Peter said, oh, Lord, wash my head, my hands, my feet, everything. After I washed this young man's feet, he turned around and told me to sit down and take your shoes and socks off. And he washed my feet. Have any of you ever been in a foot washing service? None. 1, 2, 4. I'm not saying that we should make a habit of that and keep doing it, but I'm here to tell you the words that Brother Tom Warner used during the Missions Convention when he was speaking about a destiny moment. That night, in the old building on the second floor, was a destiny moment for United Bethel, because that was the beginnings of Servant Leadership Institute. And that has been taught in this church for over 30 years. When we arrived here early this year, around Easter time, it was still being taught in discipleship meetings here in the church, that material group. had been used long ago. We're using more now ICI material. Good stuff. We didn't have any of that back then, so we had to make our own. And this church produced servant leaders. I see some of you still. We're touched in your lives because of that destiny moment that night we washed feet. Now, I'm not saying we're going to do it again. All of you deacons and maybe some news, who knows, after we have our election next hour, you're looking at me, no, you don't want to make eye contact with me. What if pastor does that at a deacon's meeting? Ouch! I'm going to be I got to go to Hong Kong or something. I can't be in that meeting. I don't know if that's not our deacons. Our deacons have a servant heart. And that's why I'm talking now. I'm going to shift from the servant heart of Jesus to leadership in this church. And I'm praying, Lord, I want to be servant to you. Oh, I want a servant's heart. Will you pray that prayer? Lord, give me a servant's heart. We're about to elect 2 deacons in our business meeting, but I'm saying all of us should have a heart like Jesus. When he talked about servant heart, he said, I didn't come to be served. Oh, how many times in some religious organizations there's leaders and they are commanders, generals, and commanders, but not so. In United Bethel, we have a board of deacons, and I can tell you I've served with them this year, and they're a wonderful board of deacons. Thank the Lord for deacons who have a servant's heart. Thank the Lord for deacons who have a servant's heart. Oh, let's get better. Now, I know these guys can't hear me, but they can see what I'm saying. Thank the Lord for deacons with a servant heart. Isn't that nice? Hey, sister, could you stand up? Sister, stand up this morning. Show us how you signed servant heart. Amen. Isn't that beautiful? Everybody is getting, thank you, Sister. You said, everybody's getting this. We have a heart after Jesus, and that is to have a servant's heart. How can we serve Jesus, and how can we serve the brothers and sisters in the family of God? How can we serve the lost, the hungry, the orphan, the abandoned, the abused? How can we serve those who don't know Jesus? And those who don't know Jesus are looking at our lives. Let them see servant heart in us. Pastor, thank you for saying that. I needed that this morning. Amen. Now, I've got good news for you. I'm done.